Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to our next pre-recorded lesson for GL assessment. We're going to be focusing on English during this lesson, and these pre-recorded lessons, as you know, can be stopped, paused at any opportunity, and hopefully are very useful to work through at home. Certainly in our live lesson we will go into probably slightly more detail in terms of the different pieces of punctuation. We're going to be focusing very much on punctuation marks during this lesson, but certainly these are good videos just for you to have a go at some of the exercises at home, particularly if you're not able to get to some of the live sessions. Then hopefully this will be a good way of watching the lesson. So let's have a little look at the first slide. Just a reminder, this is lesson 3, English lesson 3. This is block 5 still. You're hopefully in year 5 if you're watching this, and my name's Chris Pearce and I'll guide you through this lesson. So this is a copy of the lesson plan, just so you know what we're covering off. We're going to be looking at commas and brackets, very important piece of punctuation. We're also going to be looking at dashes and hyphens, just looking at the differences between those. Apostrophes, which is a very common type of punctuation. Inverted commas, which is another word for sort of speech marks or quotation marks. We're looking very much at sort of direct speech. Then we're going to focus on colons and semicolons. So really by the end of the lesson you'll hopefully have a far better feel of all the different types of punctuation, how to use them, when to use them, and really build up your subject knowledge. This very much fits in with GL assessment because there will be a section on punctuation that you'll need to do in your exam. So really going to explore that. We'll have a chat about the homework at the end. We're actually going to start off though with a spelling test, and you've got 10 words hopefully that you went away and learnt, and I'm going to go through those with you now. So it's a good idea if you've got a spelling book out or a scrap bit of paper, and then I'm going to call out those words and ask you to write them down. They are antonyms that you were looking at this week, antonyms, so opposite in meaning. So this probably is a good opportunity to pause the video, stop it and get yourself ready, get a pencil, get your spelling book out. I always suggest with your spellings, if you just write the numbers 1 to 10 down the side, you know there's 10 words coming, and then I'll call out the words for you to spell. We'll double check them at the end, see how you manage to get on. Okay, so number 1. The word you need to write down first is meagre. There was a meagre amount of food on the plate. Meagre. Make sure you haven't got your spelling list out. I do trust you that you're doing this accurately and not cheating. Number 2, next word we'd like you to write down is plentiful. Plentiful. That's obviously the opposite of meagre. There was a plentiful supply of goods. So number 1, meagre. Number 2, plentiful. Number 3, I'd like you to write the word knowledge. Write the word knowledge. Everyone at Teacher Right has a lot of knowledge. All our tutors have a lot of knowledge. Question 4, I'd like you to write the word ignorance. Ignorance. Children showed ignorance by writing upside down. Ignorance. Number 5, we've got the word hinder. Hinder. Hinder means to impede. Write the word hinder. Next word is assist. Assist, the opposite of hinder. Assist, to assist someone, to help someone out. Assist. Number 7, encourage. Encourage. If you encourage someone, you help them out, you encourage them, motivate them, encourage them along. eighth word is the opposite to encourage. And this has got a very important prefix. I nearly gave it away then. It's discourage. Discourage. If I told you the letters, that would have made it really easy. Number 9. Thrive. Thrive. Thrive is to do really well at something. If you thrive at something. The boy I know will thrive at his new school. So to make better, to thrive. 10 is deteriorate, and that means to worsen. Deteriorate. Unfortunately, the car was starting to deteriorate. Deteriorate. Okay, so what we'd like you to do now, once you've written all 10 of those words down, we're going to check them. So I'm going to bring them up on the screen, and then you can check them at home and see how many out of 10 you managed to get. So here they are. Hope you all know the meanings of these words as well. So again, when you go down through, you can write them in your word and meaning book if you want to, if you didn't know what they meant. And you can just go down through and you can check that they are spelt correctly. I think, as I've put on the side, it is really important that you know the meanings of these words as well. That's just as important as the spellings. Well done. If you got 10 out of 10, you can easily record down there how many you got correct. If there are any words that you need to learn, you can always write them on your sheet underneath. So these might be ones that you need to go back to and just revise. So there were some quite tricky words in there. Deteriorate wasn't an easy word. Meagre, strange word to spell. But well done if you got 10 out of 10. And maybe you can let us know in the live feed how you are getting on. We will do the spelling test again in the live feed. So if you weren't able to do it through this video. Okay, we'll go back to our objectives. Let's make sure we know what we're covering off. So we're going to be revising the main punctuation marks used in a GL assessment examination. So we're looking at all the GL specific punctuation marks. We're really covering them all off. We're also going to practice some exercise to develop your subject knowledge. So really building up your understanding of how these punctuation marks work. So you're going to need to make sure you've got this book. So this is what you need in this lesson. You need your CGP 11 Plus English GL assessment book. Hopefully you've all received your books by now. Also, you've got a sharp pencil and a rubber if it's not on the end of your pencil separately. And one of the little features that you may see today is I've tried to include some pause buttons. This isn't interactive. It just allows you to just pause the video, and it just highlights when it's a good opportunity to kind of stop. So I would sort of take this as a good place to stop the video. Make sure you've got everything you need now. So you've got this book, got your pencil, got your rubber, got a drink of water, and you're ready then to start with me. Okay, let's have a little look. So we've done the spellings, we've gone through those, and first little task is we would like you to write down what you believe to be all the punctuation marks. Not writing the words down, but the actual marks themselves. Now, I've done an EG here. Well, of course, that's a full stop. So you can include that one if you like. I'll give you that one. Then you could maybe add a comma, for example. And there are lots and lots of others. So I've given you a really good head start. I want to see how many you can come up with. So off you go. And pause the video and write as many punctuation marks. I challenge you to get at least 10. Okay, off you go. Okay, hopefully you had an opportunity to do that little task. Let's have a look then at some of the punctuation marks. See how many of these you actually included. So along the top row, got full stop, comma. Those are the first two I did for you. Question mark, really important one. Also looking out for when questions are asked, particularly when you've got to add punctuation like question marks in. Semicolon, and we'll look at the semicolon today and how it's used, often to separate two clauses. So a semicolon. Exclamation mark. Then we've got the colon. The colon you would recognise often when you're starting a list of something, but also if you've got an explanation that follows in a sentence. So you may have a sentence where you have to put a colon in and an explanation follows on, and we'll see some examples of those today. Apostrophe, you'll know it as possessive, or maybe even using it as a contraction when they have a shorter word like can't or don't. Rounded brackets and square brackets. I must admit, I'm not definitely sure I know the difference between the two, but the round brackets is the ones we're going to be focusing on today. Maybe we could do a little bit of research and see when you would use square brackets against round brackets, but there's 2 bits of punctuation there. Quotation marks. The ellipsis mark, often used at sort of the end of a story, if you're leaving someone in suspense. Hyphen and the dash, we look at those today. Slash, not such a common one, but maybe one that you need to think about. We won't be using the @ sign, and it won't be something you need to consider in the 11 plus, but a good bit of punctuation to know. Brace, and then the asterisk you've probably come across before. Okay, let's go down and have a look at the first set of questions that we're going to look at. So this again might be quite a good opportunity for you to pause the video. In your books, we're going to be focusing on the comma and the brackets. So can I ask you to make sure you are on the right page? And you need to be on page 8. Page 8. So in your books, you need to be on page 8. So make sure, please, that you found the correct page. I'll just make that green so it's easy for you to see. So we've got page 8 in your CGP English book. Okay. Now when you go to page 8, at the top of page 8, this is what you'll see. And we're actually going to start by looking at brackets. Each of these sentences missing a pair of brackets. Add the brackets around the correct words in each sentence. So for example, got Mr. Smith something was mowing his lawn. And what we've got Mr. Smith, my neighbour, was mowing his lawn. Now, my neighbour is kind of additional information. It's not necessarily required within that sentence. I could say Mr. Smith was mowing his lawn and it would still make sense. So we're looking for you to put in the brackets where you believe that there's additional information and the sentence would still make sense. And I'd ask you to do them just as curved brackets for me. Okay, you see a pause button in the top corner, so this would be a good place to pause the video and then give yourselves the opportunity to work down through. Okay, that's hopefully enough time. So shall we go down and see how you got on? So I'm going to reveal them all now to you. So I've got 9 questions in all here. And the first one, the MP, which obviously stands for the Member of Parliament, gave a rousing speech. So the brackets go around Member of Parliament. Again, it's additional information. I despise vegetables. Hope that's not true. Despise means I don't like them, I hate them, especially carrots. So especially carrots is additional there. I'm catching a long haul flight this evening. Friday is the additional information. Remember that brackets are used to add extra information or explanations. We may see one where it gives you a little bit more explanation about something. Number 4, it costs £185 per child. The additional information here is how old they are, 7 to 11 years. Sprint, which is a verb. Often you would see this potentially in a dictionary where they have the word, then they have what type of word group it is, and then they put brackets around that, and then you've got your definition. So sprint means to run quickly. A verb is the additional information there. I saw Miss Chowdhury, my tutor, shopping today. So my tutor is the extra information. Our vehicle is red, bright red, so it's another sort of further explanation there with a turquoise stripe. So bright red becomes the additional information. Eclairs, buns filled with cream, yum yum, are mouth-watering treats. So buns filled with cream is the additional information there. The pencils have been lost. Again, you could say that as a sentence, but the additional information which belong to class 4. So what you can do here, if you did manage to get those correct, as we went down through, you could put a score out of 9 in there. If you did get any wrong, see if you could work out why, where did you put the brackets? Was it because you didn't put it around the extra information or the explanations? So really important to have a good look at. Okay, we're going to move on to commas now. Now, hopefully this will work for you. We're actually going to play a short little video clip in here, and I'm just going to get the mouse ready. And hopefully we can click on this and we can watch the video. I'm just going to go down here and just get my mouse up. Hopefully it will allow me to do this. I'm just a bit worried it may not allow me to go to the link. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this one and I'm going to take it into my toolbar here, And I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to switch on the Google Cam. Hopefully now, if I go down here, yeah, hopefully you can see that now on the screen. And I'm going to play it that way.
Commas can be handy to make things clearer. Let's eat Albert. That's a good example. No, Albert, don't worry, we'll show you. A comma can be used to change the meaning of a sentence. So instead of actually eating Albert, we're going to eat with Albert. Commas can also be used to separate out any key information in the sentence. Like this: Albert, the alien with blue spots, is from the planet Zoink. Commas can also separate statements, such as, Albert got used to the blue spots, but then they started itching. To summarise then, commas are able to change the meaning of a sentence, break up longer sentences into more manageable parts, and separate out additional information. Ah, guess it's just you and me for lunch then, Jerry.
Okay, I hope you managed to be able to watch that video. If you weren't able to and it didn't come up on your screen, then you can copy this link into your Google browser, and then it will come up and you can listen to a video which explains about how to use commas. So, back into your books now. We should be now still on page 8, and this is the second section on page 8. And what we're going to be looking at here is to add one comma to each sentence so that it is correct. For example, the door, which was bright red, shone in the sunlight. So what we're doing here is we're splitting out this sentence into separate clauses, and that often might be something you'll need to do with the comma, or it may be even a list. So maybe if you had a list of verbs, for example, you may need to put a comma in between. This is a good opportunity to pause the video, make sure you're in the right spot, and you're going to now have a go at adding one comma to each sentence so it's correct. You're only adding one. Okay, off you go. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you've managed to have a go at that. We're now going to run down through the answers together. Make sure you know where those commas actually go. So I'm going to actually scroll down here. So we've got question 10. Trembling with anticipation, she opened the door. What you notice when I read that, I also had a little bit of a pause. And when you hear a pause, that's often where you need to place your commas. So the comma separates two clauses here. Number 11, the fox hesitated, glared and sauntered away. And in this situation, the comma splits out the list of verbs. So the fox hesitated, glared and sauntered away. Sauntered means to walk away. 12, we've got Mrs. Jones, 46, witnessed the dangerous incident. Now, because 46 is kind of an additional piece of information, this is why we split that out. So it's an extra bit of information, so we can put a comma there. Number 13, I sold my holiday cottage and I moved to Maidstone, Kent. I've been to Maidstone, Kent many years ago on a rugby tour. I sold my holiday cottage and I moved to Maidstone, Kent. And again, that separates the town from the country, or the county rather. So that's a good place to put the comma to split that out. Number 14, the panda, just 3 months old, was absolutely adorable. And again, we're splitting it into separate clauses because we could say the panda was absolutely adorable. So it's kind of like extra information here, a bit like what we did with the brackets, and we can add the comma in there. Now, just on this one, I thought this might be a nice little task just to show you. Sometimes it's important that we pronounce things properly, and this name is pronounced like this. I wonder whether you can hear this.
Ivania.
Ivania. So if we go back to our slides again, hopefully you heard that over the top. Ivania, Aunt Kirsty and Geeta are intrepid mountaineerers. Okay, intrepid mountaineerers. But because we've got a list here of these names, we put the comma in between there. Well done if you got that right. Before leaving, the something, the bandits, fearsome and imposing, put on their masks. So again, for question 16, we're adding in the comma there because it just clarifies the meaning of the sentence and it's spitting out that adverbial phrase at the beginning before leaving. 17, goalkeeper, my best friend, played superbly. Again, my best friend is kind of additional information, but we can put the comma in there to make sure that we clarify the meaning of the sentence. The goalkeeper, my best friend, played superbly. And 18, so if you feel inspired, start writing your own blog. So again, we're splitting it out because those pair of commas contain extra information. Well done if you managed to get those correct. So again, you could write the 9 in there if you managed to get them all right. Okay, let's move on to dashes and hyphens next. So again, this might be a good opportunity to pause your video and you can go to page 9. I'm going to be looking at dashes and hyphens. So what we've got first of all is we've got to either add a single dash or a pair of dashes to each sentence so that it is correct. For example, Humaira, the newest student in school, was late for class. Humaira. What we'd suggest you pause it and then you're going to have a go at the next set of questions. So you've actually got, how many have you got here? You've got 9 to do. Just go back up there so you don't see the answers. Pause it and then you can watch it back as we go through it. Okay, so the first one, it was no use, the lock wouldn't open without the correct key. And because we've got 2 separate clauses there, then the dash would go there. So it was no use, the lock wouldn't open without the correct key. So it was used to separate 2 clauses there, or 2 related clauses. And on question 2, we've got additional information here. So the acrobats, the most popular act at the circus, didn't perform last night. So as I said to you before, you could do the acrobats didn't perform last night. So this additional information, which is used by the dashes going in there. Okay. She saw the manager, Betsy, walking to the car park. So again, we can put in those 2 dashes and that will make the sentence make sense. It's just separating out extra pieces of information. The town was deserted, there was nobody in sight, and again these are 2 related clauses, so we can add the dash in there. Flopsy gobbled up the pieces of carrot, they were delicious, so again there's 2 related clauses there, so we can add in the dash there. To reach the tallest waterfall, which was 200 metres high, we walked for hours. So again, this bit here, which was 200 metres high, don't actually need that. That was additional information that it had given us. So we can use the dashes to separate that out. Question 7, I went straight home. There was nothing I could do to help. So again, we can add the dash in there because this is splitting out those 2 related main clauses. My eldest brother, who had always loved art, painted me a picture. Additional information there, so the extra information can be separated by the 2 dashes. As you'll know, on some of them you need 2, some of them you need 1. Number 9, I didn't know where to go, dash, he wouldn't tell me. So again, if you got that correct, then you can put 9 out of 9 if you got all of those right. So that last one just separated the main clauses again. Brilliant. So we're going to move on now to look at hyphens. So this would be a chance now to pause the video and have a think about hyphenated words. This is a slightly different task that you need to do here. The way you're going to work it out is you're going to have a look at the sentence and you're going to write down, because the hyphens have already been put in, but you need to decide whether they've been used correctly or incorrectly. So you're going to think very hard about, was it put in there correctly or incorrectly? So I'll then reveal, once you've had a go, I'll then be able to reveal those answers to you. Okay, so I'm going to go down through these. So again, as you go down through, what you can do with your pen is, if you've got them right, you can give it a tick. I know it's difficult having incorrect and then ticking it correct. Seems a bit strange, doesn't it? So, number 10, we'll just talk about why the answers are the right ones here. So, the long-legged bird waded through the murky water Well, of course, it is correct because the legs of the bird are long. So that's why you would put it as a hyphenated word there. You would put the hyphen between long and legged. Okay, so that was correct. Number 11, this is an interesting one. The sentence would be, I found a half-eaten apple under the table. The hyphen in the correct version of the sentence makes it clear that half of the apple has been eaten. So really, the hyphen should go there. Okay, so I'm coming up the letters, but between half and eaten, rather than between eaten and apple. Okay, because it describes the apple as being half eaten. So that was actually incorrect there. So hopefully you wrote incorrect or correct down there. 12, teacher took the 7-year-old children to the library. Well, it's not actually the 7, between the 7 and year. It needs to go between year and old. So that one actually is incorrect. Or sorry, between 7-year-old. It needs to go in between here. So sorry, it actually goes there as well. Okay, so they've missed out one. It's not that that one's incorrect. It's the fact they've missed out a hyphen there. So hopefully you went for incorrect there. Number 13, are you sure this is the most up-to-date model? Well, you've probably written up-to-date before, and you know that you can put the hyphens between the words, and that would be correct. Number 14, this is actually incorrect because the sentence should be, it was midnight before the wind and heavy rain stopped. The adjectives wind and heavy both relate directly to the rain, so a hyphen isn't needed. Okay, it isn't needed because, as we say, both of those adjectives relate to the rain. Number 15, we've got the dog stole the plate of warm, fresh cookies, naughty dog. And in this instance, it's incorrect because we don't actually require the hyphen. It isn't needed because we know that warm and fresh relate to the cookies. So we don't actually need the hyphen there. That's incorrect. Number 16, hyphen makes it clear that the event will be a month in length, so a month-long event, so that one's fine. Number 17, there were 12 sky-high trees in the palace gardens. The hyphen in the correct version of the sentence makes it clear there are 12 trees that are as high as the sky. So it should be sky-high. We don't need this one, and we don't need the one in front of trees. And the last one is also incorrect because you would need either a dash, a semicolon, or a full stop. I won't go. Okay, you should carry on without me. Okay, so you shouldn't use a hyphen to join two related clauses. Okay, we could have used a dash like we used in this previous exercise. So, depending on how you got on there, if you did get 9 out of 9, which I think would be a tremendous job, then you can write 9 there. Well done. Okay, we're going to move on to apostrophes now. So we're going to have a think about apostrophes. Now, apostrophes can be used in various different ways. We can use them for possession. We could also use them to put into words that are like contractions. So I'm just going to go down through these with you. Again, this would be a good place to pause it and then have a go at those. And then we'll go down through and quickly identify where the apostrophes go. So what have we got here? So the first one, Novak wasn't allowed to play chess, so it was not. So we would actually add it in there. The tiger's paw was tangled in some yarn. Well, because the paw belongs to the tiger, then we would put the apostrophe there, so it's possessive. Question 3, we think she'll win all the trophies. She will, so you can shorten that, but the apostrophe will replace the W and the I. So we think she'll win all the trophies. She will would work there. Mr. Smith's hat blew away in the breeze. Well, of course, Mr. Smith's, it belongs to Mr. Smith, his hat, so that's possessive. And then the next one, we'd like a chocolate-covered cookie, wouldn't we all? Would be shortened to we would. We would like a chocolate-covered cookie. Number 6, we've got the baby's rattles were grubby. Now, because babies is plural and it ends in an S, we actually put the apostrophe after the S. So you must make sure it goes after the S on that one. And again, it is possessive because of the rattles belonging to the babies. And then number 7, we are a disgruntled group of people. And then number 8, we've got a woman's handbag. So again, sorry, between the N and the S, if that's not very clear. And it shows possession. And then we've got both the bikes, wheels had fallen off. And again, with bikes, it's a possessive apostrophe because there is only one bike. Both the bike's wheels had fallen off. Okay, but there's only one bike, so we must put it before the S. Well done if you managed to get all 9 of those correct. Again, you can easily write down the score. You actually had to write down on here what they were, but when we're doing the activity in your live session, I might just get you to put the apostrophes in your books. Okay, we're getting towards the end of our lesson now. Not many sections left, but we have got one here on apostrophes again, and we've got its and its, but one has got the apostrophe for it is, or if it's its, it could be possessive. So it is, so think about it like a contraction, or its you would use in possession. So again, what we'd ask you to do is go down through these. Okay, so you could have paused the video and see how you got on with these. So I'm just going to quickly call these out. Number 10, it's its, as in it is. Okay. Number 11, it's its. So ITS, and it's possessive. There's no apostrophe there. Okay. And then number 12, we do need an apostrophe. It is going to be, or sorry, it has been ages since we met. So it has will fit in that sentence there. Number 13, we've got its, so IT apostrophe S. So its shortened version, of course, is it is. So if you think about it in the sentence, I think it is time to go, as everyone seems weary. Number 14, it's ITS, so it's possessive. Okay, so sometimes it's hard to apologise, especially when you don't feel remorse. So, sorry, that's it is. I'm going to just put that in there. Okay, so number 15, got it is. I'm sorry, I think I missed out 14. Italy is famous for, and we're going to put its delicious cuisine because the cuisine belongs to Italy. Number 16, we've got ITS. I swerved out of the way as the car flashed its lights at me. So possessive, the lights belong to the car. And then number 17, we've got it is. So we need to put in the apostrophe this time because it's the contraction. I hate my uncontrollable frizzy hair. So it, now to replace that, it would be it is time for a change. And the last one, got ITS here. So no apostrophe. It's possessive and it shows that the doors belong to the shop. The shop helpfully opened its doors early for us. Okay, sorry I lost my flow a little bit there, but hopefully that made sense. Okay, let's go back over to here. And we've now got some inverted commas, colons and semicolons to finish off with. Again, a great opportunity here just to pause the video and you can then work down through these. What you need to do for the first task is rewrite this reported speech as direct speech. Okay, and the example here is Oliver told his mum that he had eaten the cake. I have eaten the cake, Oliver told his mum. So again, if you look here, this is where the speech marks go. Okay, and then we've also got a comma here before we go into the reporting part. Okay, so really important that you put in that comma there. Sometimes you might need to use a question mark, particularly if this is a question in the direct speech, and also make sure that you get the right pronoun as well used in your sentences. So what I've done, you would have had to have paused the video here because you need to write out the sentence underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down, and then I think it's probably a really good idea if you look down through and you check what's happened there. Okay, so you can easily check, I think, what you've been able to do. Okay, good idea to check here.
Padua.
Padua. That was one of the names in here, Padua. So I don't know if you were familiar with that name. It wasn't one I'd known before, but Padua. It's a lovely name, isn't it? Padua. So really important that you're putting your speech marks, your inverted commas, around the direct speech, but around everything, so around the commas and the question marks, and then you're putting your reporting clause afterwards. So we've got said, got claimed, politely, explained, and admitted, okay, as your reporting clauses afterwards. But it's all about turning those sentences into the right reported speech, or the reported speech as direct speech that you've changed it into. Well done. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to add a colon or a semicolon to these different sentences. Again, I would pause the video and I would give yourself a chance to add in either a semicolon or a colon. So colons often used with lists or with an extra bit of explanation. Semicolons would be used to split out clauses. So again, have a think about where you might put a semicolon in. If it separates phrases in a list possibly, okay, you may well use a semicolon as well. Let's have a little look. So those were the ones that you got to finish off with. Okay, there's 9 questions there, and I'm just going to reveal to you what they were. So on the first one, you're actually going to need a colon, because it starts a list, doesn't it? Sunglasses and some goggles. In number 7, the sentence should be, the shop sold mints as bag as fists, sweets that fizzed, and dark licorice balls. And because you've got separate phrases in there, you need to make sure that you add in those semicolons. There is a semicolon there you'll identify, but it's that one that you needed to add in. So again, you've kind of got extra information there. Number 8, Roberto knew what was about to happen, and then you've got a colon. He was going to be sick, because again, that is introduces an explanation. And that's where you may have got a little bit confused. But if it introduces an explanation, this is an explanation, he was going to be sick, sort of adds on to the first bit, then you would need to put in a colon. The referee sent the footballer off. Liang visibly winced as he passed. Okay, so you're going to need a semicolon in here because these are 2 separate clauses, or 2 main clauses that you need to split out. Then we've got a list with the colon. Number 11, we've got 2 main clauses that need separating out there. Number 12, we've got additional information, so another explanation. The girl was motivated by one thing, her love of money. Then we've got a list. There are 5 vowels in the alphabet, A, E, I, O, and U. So because it's starting that list, you would put the colon after alphabet. And then 14, we've got Fiona's book was very interesting. And because the semicolon joins 2 main clauses to make one sentence, we would put the semicolon in there. Fiona's book was very interesting. She couldn't stop reading it. I wonder what that book was. Thank you very much for watching this video. Certainly in the live sessions, we will be giving more explanation about those bits of punctuation, but I hope you found it useful. Just a little reminder on your homework tasks. These are your homework tasks. We are looking at week 2, and you will need to focus on those ones there. But if you do want to have a go at the You Could, then absolutely brilliant. Obviously, there'll be a separate video for the maths and also a separate homework review video for those tasks as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care, and we'll see you soon.